recordings running. And yeah, this is a very big Siebel Friday. We have a lot of things to go through, and on the Siebel Oracle side as well as the devpops side. So let me share my screen and let's get going. So let's kick this off with a overview of the Siebel 23.6 update, as is tradition on Siebel Friday. Just let me get my, sorry for this. Am I audible? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, sorry for that. Not sure about the chat status. I have this going with GoToMeeting, but if you can't chat, or you should be able to chat at least to the organizer. So if you have any questions or anything to pass on, please just chat to me or the organizer, and then I will read it out. It's better to read out anyway for the recording. Okay, so yeah, the Siebel 23.6 update was delivered, of course, right on time, mid of June, and it was really packed full with features, and that's of course great to see. Web Tools gets 4 new wizards, not 1 but 4, and on the integration side we have really a lot of things to talk about. CTI supports now client-side integration. UCM has a extension, and the big one, of course, is the advent of the event publication and subscription with Apache Kafka. And also on the OCI side, Siebel Upgrade Factory was made generally available, and the Tomcat report is that Tomcat is same as 23.59072, and we have end of support for Siebel Outlook drag and drop. Not that you probably know what this is, but I'm sure you do. Okay, so the 4 wizards for web tools are business component, command, integration object, and transient business component task for task UI. So bringing the total count to 6. I think in Siebel tools there are around 21, depending on how you count them. Wizards, some of them might be obsolete, but yeah, way to go, web tools. Good to see the number of wizards is growing. Then the CTI integration, of course, Siebel has a long-standing integration tradition with computer telephony integration, and that is now changing a little bit as a new way of integrating is available in 23.6 and higher, and that is the client-side SCAPI, or Siebel Communications API. So there's a client-side extension, means OpenUI JavaScript has an object, especially CTI Client Manager, which you can use. There's sample files provided by Oracle. I've learned you have to file a support request to get those sample files as a partner or customer to play around with those. And
I've asked them to include it in the build, just FYI.
Okay.
So I don't know when they'll get around to doing it, but hopefully that'll happen soon.
Yeah, so that would be great to see, be able to play around even if you don't can or want to file a support request. And the big acronym here is CCAAS. So that's a funny acronym. It's called Contact Center as a Service. The likes of AMC Technology, who presented with the Siebel Hub a while ago, their Da Vinci solution, probably they are driving force behind this, and just guessing. And they and other providers allow to integrate with cloud-based contact center software right through the browser. And that's, of course, can be much more convenient than through the server side than it was traditionally. I'm by no means a CTI expert, but this is, of course, a great addition. UCM, I'm also not a UCM expert. It has been a long time since I touched the customer information file. It was then CIF. And there is a UCM transaction manager, which calls EI Siebel adapter. And now you can place basically a pre and post slot, a business service before and after commit of EI Siebel adapter. The UCM world will, of course, cheer with this. And yeah, the really big one that many people were waiting on for a long time is now here. That is the event publication or PubSub with Apache Kafka. Now that's fully documented in the Oracle Siebel System Administration Guide, so check it out, 23.6 bookshelf and higher, of course. Maybe drop some notes in the chat about Kafka. Do you know what Kafka is? Are you using it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I had people voice some strong opinions about it, but it's definitely a software or a streaming platform. That's the self-description of Apache Kafka for receiving, storing, and routing large volumes of messages. So it's a high throughput solution. It comes with its own zookeeper, so don't confuse this with the Siebel zookeeper if you read about it. There's tons of information on the internet about Kafka, so a Google search will bring you a lot of information. So in Siebel, you can now use let's call it a class of business service. There's one business service that you get in the repository, and you can basically copy that business service, so ensuring you use the same class. And with this class of business service, you can implement an event handler. So you can use it with runtime events, for example, and do a immediate sending of information to a Kafka topic. Or you can use it to process events that are consumed from a Kafka topic. Or you can use it generic with scripting or workflow. So that's a very flexible solution, basically allowing you to send and receive event information or general Siebel information or whatever you put in a property set to and from Apache Kafka. So Alexei sends a message in the chat. Is it an EAI receiver? Well, there is a receiver, yeah. It's called a consumer, but it's not an EAI receiver as an object manager. As you see on the screen right now, I'm looking at the architecture a little bit. Rajesh asks me to explain RTE. Sorry for that. That's runtime events. So the Siebel runtime event layer. Of course, it can invoke business service methods. So you can invoke the event handler business service. So looking at the architecture, well, let's leave out the usual bits. So we have a web client, we have a REST or SOAP client, sending information to the external AI Tomcat. No news here, so no Kafka on this side. But things happen. You create a record, you update the record, and then the runtime event, if configured, triggers, or you have a script or workflow, and that calls the send event method of that special class of business service. And that now gets interesting. That will communicate with a Kafka client, but the Kafka client is Java. So it runs on a Tomcat. You'd say, okay, yes, it runs on the Tomcat. It runs on a sidecar Tomcat, which is a different Tomcat. It's not the external AI. It's not the internal CA or SES Tomcat. It's a new Tomcat that you install. And that Tomcat runs the Kafka client. and that connects to Kafka, of course, to sending the information to the topic. Now, if you have a consuming situation, external systems place stuff in Kafka topics, and you register as a subscription. There's a new view, by the way, and then the message will be routed to the consumer, running on the sidecar Tomcat, and then calls a method or the process event method of the event handler business service. And usually you are in the script realm or workflow realm to process the information there. So that is, in a nutshell, the architecture. So Alexei has another question. Sorry, my question was not quite clear. He writes in the chat, is also a kind of receiver available for Kafka along with the adapter? I'm not sure if I can answer this. Alex?
What do you mean by receiver? What?
Yeah, Brian, yes, yeah. Alexei, can you maybe elaborate on your question?
Yeah.
Your microphone is on, but we can't hear you. So that's if you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Alexei asks, is it a kind of GMS receiver or MQ receiver? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is yes, but you can publish things to Kafka, but you can also subscribe to Kafka topics. So if some other system's also pushing something into Kafka, you can be subscribed to it, and then Siebel will pull it in and do something with it.
Right, and then that's the process event chain that is shown here.
Yeah, yeah, it's two. You both sides of it are available, and you can do them sort of together and sort of do something and then get an answer back, or you can just publish something out there and forget about it, or you can just subscribe to things, and when they show up from some other system, then you'll know about them.
So, and Rajesh asks how the process event method knows to call which script or workflow. Basically, I would say it's still early, but I would say you put a script in the process event method, in the pre-invoke method, event handler or post-invoke, and then pass on the payload to another script or workflow. So that is how I would approach it. But it's still very early, so there will be a lot of learning there, of course. And the good news is the learning starts today. So we have, taken literally no sleeping time for me, and I created a new module for the Siebel 23 Plus workshop, which you can subscribe to for a small fee as usual. And this is one of our high quality modules, of course, now in place with the 23 Plus workshop, available using the URL here or just browsing to the shop. So yeah, there's a lot to learn, a lot to understand, and it's best to play around with it. And the training shows you around and even gives you one possible way of installing your own Kafka instance to get a playground. Okay, a really great addition to the integration capabilities of Siebel. That is sure. Anything to say about this before we go to the next topic? Any questions or any remarks? I'm checking the chat. There's no. Okay.
Since I can't see the comments, were there any sort of comments just on whether people are using Kafka or not?
Yeah, you bring up a good topic. Sorry for the pun saying topic. But we have, of course, we have on the Siebel Hub YouTube channel, I almost forgot that we have a new poll up there. Integration with Apache Kafka is coming. What's your take? And we have currently 22 votes. So hope to bring that vote count up now. So I'm putting the URL in the chat so you can click it there. And 32% say finally we can't wait to implement it. So the 1/3 of the respondents, which is of course an not really a significant number. Interesting, we'll take a closer look. Another 27, roughly a third. We don't use Kafka in our organization. Another third, more or less. So, and people obviously confuse Apache Kafka with Franz Kafka. So that is the troll trap here for. Yeah. So please.
I'd also be interested in hearing, if you don't mind, Alex, for people who don't use Kafka, what do they use for this? Are people still using MQ, or other alternatives? And you don't have to cover here or anything, but if people have any input on that, please let me know. Just send me a little quick email or whatever, because we did this for Kafka because it's very well proven and a lot of people are using it, but we're not opposed to doing it with others. If there's a significant demand.
Yeah, so you heard Brian, so please put whatever queuing streaming system you are using in the chat, or send an email to Brian, of course, or put it in a comment on the YouTube channel. I personally, I worked in the past, not so in the recent past with what's it called? It's an Amazon Amazon service, some message queuing thingy. I don't know if it's internally based on Kafka, but you can send and receive messages. It reminds me a lot with a lot of MQ, but it's definitely not Otis.
The service is the what's it called? Simple queue service?
Simple queuing service, yeah, right. SQS, yeah. No, not SMS, obviously. SQS, yeah. That I worked with a customer. So, Mate writes in the chat, we are using Oracle BPEL. Wow. Most of the time with web service and MQ. Wow. Long time I didn't hear BPEL. Okay. All right. Yeah. Again, please let me reload that page real quick to see if there's any polls coming in. 23 votes. Okay, one click we have gained. I'm not audible, somebody says.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, okay. So it's Rajesh probably have a problem. Okay, so I'm audible. Right. What next? Yeah, upgrades. Couldn't resist putting on the same slide like last month. If you're still on IP16 or earlier, what year is it? Upgrade already. It's 7 years. You have no update, no support for your database, no support for your operating system, no support for the browser probably using, and all the good reasons to upgrade. And why I'm saying this, and of course we could argue why you should upgrade Siebel. Well, if you intend to use it for the next few years or decades, then upgrade already. And the reason I'm saying this is that now upgrading, if you're among the customers who haven't upgraded, and I think there's a mismatch in the audience here because you guys are leading edge and you're probably on 23.6 already, but there is a large portion of customers. I don't have any numbers, but I guess must be several hundreds of projects still running on old Siebel, and they will benefit from this offering on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, the Siebel Upgrade Factory. Now, I had the privilege to goof around with it the last 2 days, and it's really something. It's a beast, and that beast can take your development database or repository. So you can just extract the repository, let's say out of Siebel IP15, and upload it to the cloud, then have one single REST request to kick off a process. And it will not only upgrade the database, it will also perform an upgrade assessment and generate a report. It will automatically conduct the IRM, headless IRM. I'm fascinated by that still because, as you probably know, you need Siebel tools to run IRM on premise. And then you can download the results, the resulting repository or the entire database, if you will, and continue on-prem, or you can just continue on OCI and build an environment or reuse the environment that the Upgrade Factory creates. It's included in the Siebel Cloud Manager, so don't look for Upgrade Factory like I did for weeks. It's in Siebel Cloud Manager, so we go to the marketplace, take the latest version of Siebel Cloud Manager. And Oracle has put the documentation in the database upgrade guide, one new chapter there, and supports Siebel 8 to IP16. Okay. Anything about that? Siebel Upgrade Factory? No? Alexei says cool in the chat. Yeah, it's really, really something. Again, I think the audience will be a bit different here, indifferent probably, because they have already upgraded. Okay, Rajesh also says.
I wouldn't mind, this is another one I wouldn't mind feedback on, even if you have already upgraded, which I think, Alex, you're probably right. Almost anyone who attends this probably has. Just your thoughts on it in general, just if you have any, if you could send them to me or just, put them in chat and Alex can copy and paste them if he doesn't mind. Just like, would you have used this or considered using it? It would still be of interest.
So we have two messages saying cool. So that is good feedback already. So yeah, I'm planning on maybe also creating a training module on this, since it's worth putting a little bit more knowledge out there. But it's really self-sustaining. Might mention here that there's one manual step, the conflict resolution, where it spins up a web tools. Well, it spins up a Siebel enterprise with web tools, and then lets you log in to web tools. And web tools now has gained a new view where you can see the conflicts and override the conflicts and then confirm your conflict resolution like you did in Siebel tools in the old on-prem version. So there's a manual step in there, but it's the only manual step, and the rest is really fully automated. Okay, and finally, the last feature or deprecation feature, or how do you say that, is that Siebel Outlook drag and drop, SODD, the little Outlook plugin that you needed to have if you wanted to drag and drop stuff from Outlook, and the desktop Outlook, by the way, into the Siebel attachment applet. So that is now supported by native browser features, so you actually no longer need it. And Oracle has henceforth desupported it as of May 2023. So farewell, little SODD. And you might send something in the chat if you ever used SODD or never even knew it existed. Would be interesting to hear.
Yeah. A little background just on that is, this was actually, we built it obviously for Siebel, but you could actually have, I myself used it without Siebel for Dropbox at one point because browsers didn't support the way that Outlook has implemented the clipboard. It was not compliant with sort of the clipboarding handlers in the browser. And then so eventually Chrome added that capability to support Outlook. And then so obviously Edge inherited it, it was Chromium. And then Firefox just finally started handling it in the version that was released about beginning of May. So that's why we got rid of it, is that we just don't need it. But if you happen to be using some other browser, those are the three obviously largest, that doesn't support that, then you could just download the terminal 23.5 version and continue to use it. It's not going to break. We haven't fixed a bug in it in 4 years, so it's going to keep working.
It's totally bug free.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a simple thing. All it's doing is grabbing the attachment and changing the way that it gets dumped onto the clipboard. It's just intercepting it. And it's just in between, if you will, Outlook and the browser, so that the browser can take it. Just because you can drag from a Explorer window, it works fine.
Yeah,
you can't drag
sure.
So anyway, that's just a little background for those who didn't know what it was for. It was just it was very handy. Like I said, you could use it with Dropbox. You could use it with other platforms as well that had the similar issue. It would work with any browser. It didn't have to be Siebel running in it.
Yeah. The workaround always was to drag to File Explorer and then drag from File Explorer to the browser. That was always the workaround. Many users adopted without even knowing SODD existed, probably. And okay, thanks Brian for that insight on the Outlook drag and drop. At this point, we have one new training coming up soon. If you're really into the Siebel Hub, then of course you know about the memberships. You probably are a member already. Remember that membership is always free, but you have a silver and gold membership, where the gold membership has a 10% discount on all video training. So if you plan on really indulging on training, maybe become a gold member in the first place. Okay, let me know if you need anything related to the Siebel Hub and membership. And that's it for the Siebel update side, the Siebel 23.6, a really great release. And now let me check my list. Really, now it's devpops. And I'm going to give you a preview of the upcoming devpops and also some existing features. Namely, something that really stirred a lot of discussions, the dependency finder. So I'm going to do a demo so you see how it works. And that means the new devpops, since a while we use the shoelace framework. So there's a little rocket on the left and you can open the devpops menu. And there's the usual functionality, and under helpers, you will find in the latest devpops, you will find that dependency finder. And first I have to bring forward, he's not here today, Jason Maxura from American Airlines, who had the initial idea and who actually was a really great help in weeding out the kinks and getting this done. So dependency finder means that you can search for any given type of object. So we support a few major object types like applet here. And then you can type in an object name, like, okay, let's do contact list applet. And of course it has autocomplete. So that only works on the design repository, by the way. It just doesn't make sense on a runtime repository. And then click Find Dependencies, and it will find any references in various other objects. For example, this applet is referenced in 13 views, and you can click Details and get the name of the views, right? So that's one thing you can do. Just need to get that a little bit, oops, sorry. Yeah, that's better. And also searches the OpenUI manifest, for example. You can hide the empty results, and that's okay. There's a physical renderer presentation model. Yeah, the contact list applet has that demo renderer presentation model and web template. So you see the references from here too. So let's try something. Let's try another one. Business component, for example. So where look, let's say expense. That's a nice business component to look for. So you would look for the use case from Jason was that he wanted to make sure it is not referenced at all anymore. So expense is referenced. The business component has 17 applets. There's a graph option which I used, just a library I found, and it's probably not worth it when there are a lot of results. And so you can see there's even a state model. So it does not only search the repository, it can search anywhere. It uses the REST API of Siebel. So anything you can search on the REST API, you can search. Workflow steps. The business component expense is listed in 2 workflows at least. So that's, or actually 2 steps in the same workflow. Okay. So while you're collecting the information here, you can, it's also collected in the background and you can export this anytime. So until you click tidy up, it's really writing forward a little table that you can copy paste into Excel, for example. So you have all these, you see all the searches I did for the applet and the business component, they're in the same list. So you have tidy up, clear all the caches, start over. Yeah, as you can see, we have a lot of things here, and give it a try. devpops is on GitHub. It's not intended to be used in mission critical environments. It's just educational to show what you can do with OpenUI, what you can do with the REST API. And there's even a full text search, because you just can do these kind of things. You know, the repository search in Siebel tools, it searches really everywhere. It's a little bit slow. So here you have better control where to search. And let's just search for Siebel, maybe. And yes, you can see it's fairly quick. And this one even searches the OpenUI JavaScript files. So that obviously takes a while to load them all in the background. And there's obviously a lot of user properties having Siebel in the name, but no OpenUI JavaScript. Yeah, the scripts are also searched. Well, you would expect that. So here you see the well, there's a comment. So that's basically inactive because it's just in a comment. But you'll find, if in doubt, you can open the script from here. So there's really a lot to discover. So you see that full text search searches an awful lot of information, just searches for text in certain fields. So you might ask yourself, okay, how does this work? Is it magic or not? And here's the code. So very similar code is already on GitHub. So the dependency finder is part of 23.6. Rajesh asked that question in the chat. And here what you're looking at is the main configuration. So I put it in postload, so it works in Siebel in web tools as well. And the main configuration, for example, for business service. So you can expand that. Yeah, here, sorry. So you see all the entities that you can search are listed in this JSON object and business service, and then you have references. So what references do you want to search? Application user property, runtime event action. And the definition of a reference is basically a business component. And that business component must be exposed in an integration object because we use the REST API. and you get a ZIF file with that integration object as well with devpops. Yeah, sorry, Rajesh, this is not Siebel vanilla. This is the devpops, well, call it educational sample that I provide on GitHub. Yeah, and you see you have full control over your search string, and then the fields you want to get out, and there's an X field which is then used in the data export. So you can imagine if you keep adding your own business components or any vanilla business components, keep adding sections here, you search more and more stuff. And it's doing this in a massively parallel way using the REST API. So it kicks off all the searches in one go, and whatever comes back first is displayed first, and so forth. There's a video out linked from GitHub where you can see the configuration of the integration object and so forth. So what I would be very interested in, and Jason as well, who was kind of the mastermind behind this, is what kind of dependencies are you always looking for, that in the repository? What would really help? So we can include it in the next version of devpops. So tell me in the chat, or send me an email, drop me an email, or we can have a call and evaluate your use cases. So to extend that already massive configuration here. And there's also a fun way of looking into things this is basically a flat search. So you do a flat search across all the applets or all the application user properties. But what about hierarchical search? So application does this. Application is, let me tidy this up. Application is a thing that is on top of the hierarchy. An object manager loads the application, then loads the screens and views, and the views have applets, the applets have business components, the business components have table references. You get the idea. So search down the hierarchy. Let's use a fairly small application, because the others have thousands of screens. This has a few hundred. Siebel loyalty e-member. And if I click find dependencies, it just finds 27 screens, active screens. And then you can click find views to, go down one level to find the views within those screens. And you can even add a filter if you want to. So now unfiltered, there are 347 views. And you can find the business objects for these views. Okay, 60. And you can find the applets for all these views. That's going to take a while. And with the applets, it was kind of funny because, as you will know, it kicks off additional searches, and you see the counters going up. Because once you find all the applets in the views, of course, you want to find all the MVG applets that are within or pick applets that are listed in the controls and list columns. And as you find, let's say, more MVG and pick applets, there are even more pick applets. So you have to do various searches. And it does it fairly well. So it found associate applets, MVG applets. So all this is now in the data export. So you get the full description of the application down to the applets that are used in this application. Or if you do find business components, it also kicks off a table search. So once it has the business components, it looks for all kinds of base tables, extension tables, joint tables. So you have 387 tables that you can easily list, and now you know what tables your application is using. Of course, not including the stuff you do in script and interfaces, right? So it's still just a sample, right? But you get the general idea. So, okay, so this is the big one. Again, somebody's typing furiously. Can you mute yourself? So it's also included in web tools that if you use devpops, you know, web tools gets a devpops extension, not intended, again, word of caution, not intended to be used in mission critical systems. But I thought it's worthwhile to maybe, if you're looking at business components, let's find something useful like account or access group. And when you right click, of course, right click is a no, but I just wanted to get that right click menu back. And find dependencies is the first one, besides opening the script editor, adding to favorites, oops, slipped, or about record. And find dependencies kicks off the dependency finder in WebTools just with that object that you selected. So you can do a quick search. Yeah, because, well, once you're in JavaScript, you can do a lot of stuff. Okay, Raj is asking for the GitHub link. Yeah, sure. Let me just get that for you. There it is already. So it's now in your chat. And again, just because we're looking at it right now, keep in mind, it's strictly educational. And there's the video, the dependency finder video, also linked here. Okay. Oh, Nick says this is like your Soda program. Yeah, the one, hi Nick, the one that generates those Word documents, right? And so we should maybe put our heads together to to get the dependency finder generate a Word document or something along these lines. Okay, so yeah, looking through the chat for feedback. Still, Nick says still need to fix for the workspace piece. So his Nick's program that he showed me is not workspace aware or not fully workspace aware. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. Check it out on GitHub. And yeah, one more thing that I have in my notes here is I got an email from Dan at GMC, and he has a problem, and he asked me to put the question to the audience. So I'm doing this right now. He says for some users, the Siebel screen or the browser is flickering. So question is, have you encountered this or your users having the same problem? So I can put you together with Dan, and of course he's already on Oracle support with this as well. But just he asked me to bring it up, and if somebody asks me to bring something up on the Siebel Friday, I bring it up because that's what the Siebel Friday is for. All right, so I think we're good to open the lines. They are all open all the time, so you can use your microphone. I understand GoToMeeting is getting cumbersome, and maybe next time we have a different meeting platform because the support is not really good. Great content feedback from Alexei. Thanks, Alexei. Raj is the PowerPoints. There are no PowerPoints for this. I know I presented PowerPoints, but they are also, well, not downloadable, but in a video on the Siebel Hub YouTube channel, where we have our monthly videos. So the 23.6 video is up there, as you probably know, you have watched it. I can see you guys watching the videos. No, I can't. Okay. Anything else? Anything you want to discuss? Ask? Put in for the next Siebel Friday? Okay. I'm scrolling through the chat not to make sure nothing is missed. Oh, there's one question from Alexei. Is it possible to bring into OCI a custom Siebel 17 to 22 release to get it updated to 23 or 23.6 or higher on OCI? So that is in relation to the upgrade factory. So there is an upgrade factory. The question is there an update factory? So I'll put this to Brian.
Well, no, because the upgrade factory is taking care of the merge process. We don't, when you're just talking about 17 dot whatever to 23.6, you're just applying binaries as a requirement. And so there's no there's not really an aspect to it. If you do want to run repository upgrade, then you would just do it through the normal rebase process for workspaces.
Right.
Now you could, if you were in OCI and also using containers, it's actually really fast. And it doesn't have to be in OCI, but you can switch from the binaries for, say, I don't know, 18.6 to 23.6 very, very quickly, simply by getting the latest containers and changing the YAML file for that particular pod, and then bring it down. And when you bring it back up, it'll be on the new binaries.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Then,
that process becomes a matter of, moments, as opposed to even having to double click your setup exe.
Yeah, sure. But that requires that your environment is already on running on OCI or using Cloud Manager.
You don't actually have to be on OCI to use the Docker images.
Yeah, sure. Of course, that part, no, but the YAML part, the Kubernetes.
Yeah, for the Kubernetes interaction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you could roll your own, of course, and some customers do, as I understand.
And some have, yeah, absolutely.
I even have seen quite an impressive Ansible playbooks implementation at one big customer where they actually provision new environments in one go with Ansible playbooks. So that is a thing. Using, by the way, I hate to bring this up, but the Siebel Management Console or the Cloud Gateway REST API, which is a constant discussion going on. Is it really documented? Is it supported? Because in Bookshelf you have like 3 commands that are printed.
And there's an open doc bug to fill that out. It's not that it's not supported, it's that we haven't documented it.
Right. It's okay to use it but you have to kind of hack into the browser to see.
Yeah, you have to figure out how. But.
Yeah, you have to figure it out but then it's okay, right? So you.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it recently, and no one saw any reason why we can't document it and have others use it. But it just is finding the time to do so is not, properly we have to properly document it, and it's not something we'd want to make a mistake on because of its sort of criticality to everything.
Sure.
So, I don't know how soon that will happen, but conceptually, we don't have a problem.
Okay, because it even pops up on the forums here and there, and people asking, how do I create a migration profile? How to deploy migration app?
Well, that's all the migration stuff I thought was. No. I see how to create a profile.
Create a profile and deploy the migration app through the Cloud Gateway API. That's of course possible. I did it, but good to hear it's supported in principle. Okay.
Yeah, it is supported in principle, but you're on your own for right now until we get the documentation done.
Right. Okay. Can't wait.
So use at your own risk type of supported. But at the same time, if you had a very specific question that said, hey, I figured out I need to do X, Y, Z, and I just need to know what the heck this, parameter in some JSON file means, file an SR and someone can probably figure it out.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. And
but getting a full, complete set of documentation is going to take some time. But
sure,
that doesn't mean we can't get hints along the way if we need to.
Yeah. A Swagger file with the
Yeah.
Okay. There's one more question from Rajesh. Are you planning to upload some hands-on about Kafka integration? Well, we kind of have it uploaded already as the new Siebel training module that I talked about. So that is not free, obviously, but it's a great start into event publication and subscription with Kafka and Siebel.
And for the record, we have, of course, our own TOI.
And of course, yes, sorry.
As with all new features.
As with all new features that we discussed here, of course, Oracle has published, and I learned they are now on mylearn.oracle.com.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, thanks.
Check out the TOIs on the features as well.
For those of you that are customers, there's no change. But for those of you that are partners, then you need to go through the true Oracle University site. That our internal and our external training has now been split to 2 different places. And the partner stuff is now with the customer stuff as opposed to being with the employee stuff. So if you log into where you normally do and you don't see any TOIs after February, then you're in the wrong place and you need to go search for Oracle University.
Yeah. Or I think mylearn.oracle.com takes you
yes,
very close. And
yeah, I think that gets you there. Or if you go through the training through My Oracle support, that one should also take you to the right place, I think.
Yeah.
Although
so
that navigation is also a bit of a...
Just put it in the chat for everybody to use. Yeah. So
it shouldn't change for customers, just partners.
Okay. Yeah. So on that note, a lot to learn. We like every month with Siebel CRM, so keeps us busy and on our toes. Thanks so much to Brian and Carrie for joining today and providing your valuable insights. As usual, much appreciated. And thanks everybody for attending and for the feedback. And see you next Siebel Friday.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.